In the world of productivity and lifestyle design, automation is the buzzword of the moment. And since Notion launched its API, automating my workflows across Google, Notion, and other platforms has been one of the best choices I've made. I think you need to know just how accessible custom automations can be so that you can do more with less, even if you're not a tech-savvy keyboard wizard. Hi everyone, it's Simon. That's right, today we're talking with the excellent Renat from Bardeen.ai, a powerful, accessible and currently free automation service, to share some great solutions and demos for automating your Notion workflows and beyond. From recurring tasks to gathering contacts from emails, this is a beauty. Hi Renat, how are you doing?
Doing phenomenal, Simon. Super excited to be here after a 4-month break. And here we go.
Thank you for being the first person I've interviewed on Better Creating.
Whoa, that's amazing. I didn't know that I'm the first person. It's an honor.
Can you just start a little bit by telling us what Bardeen.ai is?
So Bardeen is a no-code workflow automation tool. And like with most tools, there's a trigger and there's an action. The biggest difference of what we do in the area where we want to innovate is you get to participate in the automation. So we save you time and we get you involved in the automation process. For example, one of the use cases that we're going to cover later today is saving a contact from LinkedIn to Notion with a single click. So this is something that you need your judgment to see, hey, is this the type of person I want to add to my CRM? Then there might be another step of you customizing an outreach message saying, hey, like, here's what I want to say in my kind of like super long workflow. And you can essentially add this human input inside the more complex automation. And all of the existing tools out there on the market, they do automations of mechanical jobs, something that's super predictable. You just set it and forget it. And we can do that as well. But the really unique differentiating factor is that human in the loop component. The interesting thing is that the last time we talked, you actually haven't seen the version 2.0 of Bardeen. Since then, we've launched the Notion Automation Hub, which is this hub of all pre-built automations that you can use for Notion out of the box. And yeah, super excited to show you what we got.
I loved that they called you the News API because it feels really intuitive to use. That was what I think a lot of the Better Creating community and the viewers here are probably into. It's certainly, you know, I am, for someone who does productivity, I can get a bit chaotic and find things complex. It takes me a while to work it out. Do you need to be a tech wizard in order to use Bardeen?
Well, understanding some basic concepts such as how to turn on your computer would be pretty helpful, but not really. It's relatively intuitive. For my taste, it works based on this building blocks. Those are actions. You can perform those actions manually, or you can just create an action that will be a part of the automation.
There are a lot of things we can do with this. Let's jump into a couple of examples. I think that's what people will be most excited to see. And perhaps before we do that, what are your favorite use cases? We're going to look at recurring tasks. We're going to look at you know, contacts and things like that. But what are the options that you love?
Yeah, I love that you asked this question. So I'll tell you something that I use all the time, and that's something that's very close to like this exact moment. The way I joined this call was by just sitting here in front of my desk, and a Zoom just popped out automatically. So I have a trigger that launches the meeting link 1 minute before the meeting is to start.
I've recently been reading the classic book now, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and what I have found really fascinating about that is the more you dig into how much you can reduce the time you put into those regular things and how you find ways to think, like the meta thought around productivity is really powerful. It might save me 2 or 3 seconds ago, but that adds up hugely, right? I love the fact that you can just sit at your desk and the meeting will begin. That's really exciting.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know, taking a broader look at the automation space, I think like the best automation is elimination. So if you do not do something, if it's not important enough, if it doesn't drive the result that you're looking for, it's best just not to do it. You know, it's been how many, 10, 15 years since the book was published. And there are lots of opportunities for you to actually replace that like human person and actually get it done either entirely automatically or just have like one person do the job of 3.
Okay, Renat, It's going to show us how to do some recurring tasks in Notion. I spotted this one and messed around with it a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's potentially one of the most exciting approaches to recurring tasks, and to do it for free in such an easy and accessible way. I think you guys are going to love this one.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my task database in Notion over here, and Bardeen is a browser extension. You can download it probably in the description of this video, and you can launch it just like this. And then we're going to go ahead and build the automation. At the end of the day, the automation is relatively simple. It's going to have a trigger to have some recurrence of the event. So how often do we want to trigger? It's time-based. And it's going to have an action to add a specific page to this Notion database. So let's click on create new playbook over here. We call automations playbooks. So, and here we're going to find our first trigger event. We're going to say, hey, let's schedule the recurrence of the event to be, it can be at 8 a.m. sometime, like tomorrow. And then if it's 8 a.m., we can do the frequency. For example, it can be daily, weekly, monthly. So we can do daily. And here you have the stopping variable. Whenever you want to stop running this automation, you can do it manually, or you can do it on a specific date after a certain number of occurrences. But for the sake of the demo, I'm going to remove this event, and instead we're going to say when time has passed. So this is a duration based event. So we're going to say, hey, when time has passed 30 seconds, so we can test the automation. This is our trigger event. We're going to add the Notion event. So new action, we're going to find Notion over here and pick the create Notion page. Now you need to pick your database over here from the list of databases that you have integrated. My database is called task list. So I'm going to pick the database, and here I can click on field mapping, and essentially I can just write the name of the event, whatever we want it to be. So it can be recurring event demo. And if we were to use like a timestamp or anything else, that first action that we had, the trigger action, that can return some information. For example, if we were to have another app to trigger the create Notion page, then we could pass on that data onto this action, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. So here we have the status variable. I have the to-do column. Here's the cool thing. I can, with a shortcut, I can just hide Bardeen. It's the option B shortcut. So, and all of the data is going to be back here. So here I have the to-do. This is the status of the event. So I'm going to put it here, to-do. And I'm going to hit done. Give the name to the automation. Is going to be called hit save. And then you can close the builder over here, and you can enable this playbook over here. And then you'll see the magic happen in 30 seconds. If you want to see the invocations of this specific event, you can click on show invocations. And then here you'll see all of the instances of that specific automation being run.
So this would be a way for me to essentially set up a weekly task, something that I regularly want to tick off, and it would input a new task into the database each time based on that recurring event, right? Without me having to do anything once I set it up.
Precisely. So the most common ways of using recurring tasks would be doing recurring events in case you use the calendar inside Notion. It can be recurring finances. It can be anything really. So here we have 2 events created automatically.
Presumably the list then of those instances, you can fill pretty much anything in, any column you've got in that database. So in my system, I could have a deadline date. I could also have a due date. If I wanted to put it in, I could give it a priority. So that was all pre-programmed.
So there's a little bit of a limitation. I know the way you use recurring tasks and tasks in general. You have this relationship column, which has the company or a project as a part of your automation. So it's a relationship property, and we cannot yet do it with the Notion APIs, but this is something that we'll be able to do hopefully soon.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll ask Notion to make sure they make that available for us. It'd be great for habits, actually, this, because you wouldn't need to link it to anything if you didn't want to.
Exactly. And the cool thing, if you're using recurring tasks for habits, you can add another action on top of this automation. For example, let me show you how to customize this very easily. So we can open this in Builder once again, and then we can say, hey, I want to send a text message. So I think it's called text message. Here we go. And I can just literally text myself the URL of the page that was created automatically. So if you want to receive a text reminder saying, hey, you got to do the routine. So you put in your phone number, and then it's going to send you every morning the Notion page so you never miss it.
That's totally brilliant. So I'd be able to set up Sunday, put all of the recurring things that I want to happen on a Sunday and turn that into an automation. And I could do the same for each day if I wanted to create an automatic reminder schedule here.
Exactly. I know you've been blowing up on YouTube, super excited to see your success. And something that I do, I have this automation that checks my YouTube statistics. It goes to my studio.youtube.com, gets all of the data and sends me an SMS saying, hey, here's your YouTube data for today.
You need to show me how to do that, and then I will stop automatically clicking on the YouTube Studio to check data, which is not good for you. It's a waste of time. I love it. So we're now going to have a look at a really cool thing which I hadn't really understood until Renat showed me this, the idea of web scraping. It's a good name.
So, all right, let's take a look at the use case of adding context directly to Notion with a shortcut. And Simon, you've introduced this idea of the data scraper or of the data extraction tool. So the typical way of you using LinkedIn or Twitter, and if you use Notion as your CRM, the only way to get context added there is by hand, is copying different fields, switching tabs, pasting it into Notion. I'm going to show you how to do this much faster with Bardeen, and then we're going to go ahead and probably build a quick scraper template, which is super easy to do. So let's open Bardeen with a shortcut over here, and let's go to the Playbooks tab. And here I have the automation that I built earlier. It's linked into Notion. I'm going to click on the automation, and just like this, a new record was created inside my context database in Notion and has collected a bunch of different fields like position, the page URL, etc. So that's all it takes. You can go to probably the link in the description below to get this exact automation. But if you were to build a custom automation for any website that you want, it can be Twitter, it can be really anything. You can get structured information from any page by creating a scraper template. Let's create a new automation, and the action is called scrape data on active tab. Active tab is the currently open tab, and you will need to create a new scraper template. Let's pick the current page, and it's going to be a single page scraper as opposed to a list. And here you can just hover over an element such as name. There are different types of data fields. The image, you can click different places. So we're going to grab my name. Here, the record is going to show in the preview. I can also grab the image and call it image. And here you will see the link to my image. So once you save your scraper template, there it is. I'm just going to save it for the demo purposes. I'll just call it demo link.
Yeah.
And you can add other actions. It can be Google Sheets, it can be Notion, and you can just click on this automation, and then here it extracted the data. So just return to table, and then you can use that table in a combination with any other action.
And then you link that into sending it to Notion in a second action.
Yeah, let's go for it and actually check out this automation that I showed you in the beginning. Open it in Builder, and here it has two actions. The first action gets the data on active tab, and the second action, it's going to use that data, and we're going to map the data coming from the scraper from that table that you saw earlier onto Notion. So here you have the information over here, and there you have it. You just hit done, and then one click, and then you'll have everything automatically scraped and sent to Notion.
If I wanted to do this from email, is it as simple as this? Does it change how you would do things?
If you were to do it from email, from Gmail specifically, it's going to be even cooler. You ready for it?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
So the reason I believe it's much cooler to do it from Gmail is because the information that's inside Gmail is a lot more limited. So on LinkedIn, people tell you everything about them. They say, hey, here's where I work. Here's like my name, and here are my social media links and things like this. But via email, you have a lot less information. You just have the email. Here is the automation that we're going to build. First, I'm going to launch Bardeen with a shortcut once again, and I'm going to click on create new audiobook. And the first thing we want to do is we want to find the currently open thread. So right now we're in Gmail, but we need to figure out like what specific email, what data are we going to be working with. We're going to pick the Gmail action, and we're going to find email thread from the current page. Based on the URL that we're currently on, it's going to match it with specific email objects inside Gmail using Gmail API. So this is the first action. And then the second thing we want to do, and this is my favorite part, we're going to use an app that's called Clearbit, and we're going to find social media links from email addresses. I start with having just an email address, and I'm going to show you what it's going to output.
This is the bit that I couldn't work out when I was trying to do this. And I think that is the key to it, is that Clearbit link. That seems to make a really big difference.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, you need additional data. And here we can see all of the data that's coming from the first action, but it doesn't really return the names of the people who emailed us. So I want to get all of the recipients of the email, because I might want to run this automation with me as a sender and with me as a recipient. So I'm going to add comma here and add another variable from the action. It's going to be from. I'm going to also add the CC, because those might be interesting context for me to add as well. Hit done, and we've found the current thread. We've enriched the data. So we're going to add our last action to the mix, and it's going to be the add page to Notion action. So here we have Notion, create Notion page inside database. The database I'm interested in is called LinkedIn Contacts. It can be really any other database that you have. You can map the fields directly to different columns inside Notion. We're going to get data from the Clearbit action. And then here's the cool thing. You have two types of data that comes from the Clearbit action. It's the person action and it's the company action. So you can get both the person created with one action and a company inside the other action. So here we have the contact database. So I'm going to pick the person action over here, data type, click on the name. There it is. We're going to get the URL. It can be LinkedIn profile page. So we have different types of data coming from the Clearbit action. We have Twitter handle, we have GitHub, Facebook, and here's LinkedIn. So two data fields that are coming from Clearbit. I'm going to hit done. And like we did before, I'm going to click on save, close the builder. And here we have the currently open thread. And I'm going to just run it with one click. From here, you can view an individual page for a particular content, or you can see the database. You can click on View Parent, and here you will have all of the data. Over here, we have a number of duplicates. So ideally, you want to add the action that's going to look up the context inside your Notion database. The action is called find page in Notion. You're going to pick a variable based on which you want to match the pages, find the pages. And then there's another action called update or add new page to Notion. And it's going to update any data in case the page exists already, or it's going to create a new page in case it doesn't.
And that stops you getting the duplicates. It makes sense. So it's the simplest version is we gather the data, enrich the data, and create a new page. But if we want to also search for if that person is already there, we can do that additional field to check. And I think for most people coming new to this, certainly with me, the simple version of just gathering the data, enriching the data, and dropping that new contact into your system is probably going to be the best option. But you have that option to do update or add if you want to do it, which is cool.
Exactly.
It's really cool stuff, Renat. Thanks for sharing that stuff with us. I think a lot of the people on this channel, particularly those people that are kind of using Notion as a kind of central hub to run their lives from, this gives us a lot of options to link it out into other services. And essentially what the goal of all this stuff is to simplify the amount of time and energy you put into doing the things you really need to get done. Maybe like a final word from you on like what's in the future. What would you guys love to be developing on the Bardeen platform?
Yeah, for the short term, like we want to allow people to automate things that they didn't know that they could automate. So participating in the automation, this human in the loop type of concept. But our vision is much bigger than that. So we're planning to use artificial intelligence to figure out what your intentions are and see the type of tasks that you already do manually and say, hey, would you like to use the automation for this? We're building in the future an engine that will really allow you to automate things passively. You just use your computer. We're going to suggest you automations, and in case you're interested, they're already there pre-built.
Amazing stuff. I really do get the .ai stuff of this, and the potential of automating automations makes me really happy. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Simon. It was super fun.
So make sure to drop your thoughts and questions in the comments. Go and visit Renat on Bardeen's channel. And you should watch this video next for some more productivity joy on how I'm managing tasks and projects in a Notion system. Or this one for some more of my favorite Mac apps. Just one more button to press for you guys if you haven't already. You know the one. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.